Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Plugged In with ACDI Energy Services. Today, we're here at Franklin's Charging in Little Rock, right next to UAMS Hospital, and this is a great location for EV drivers in the area. It features 6 different charging stations, both of the level 2 and level 3 variety, and even one specifically for Tesla vehicles. And today we're going to be going through public charging station etiquette, just some simple do's and don'ts to ensure you're being a good steward of any publicly available charging stations that you may use. You ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
First up, charging is for charging, not parking.
That's right. So as you can see, most charging stations are going to have designated parking strips, very similar to any other lot, but only pull up in one of those if you plan on charging your vehicle.
That's right, Zach. You don't want to sit in a parking space if you're not charging. That takes up a lot of time, and EV drivers can get pretty upset with that.
This is especially true if you're driving a gas-powered vehicle. At the end of the day, if you're driving a gas-powered vehicle, you don't need to be parking anywhere near a charging station. There's going to be plenty of other spots in the lot. Just take one of those and don't inconvenience your electric vehicle drivers out there.
Next up, we got monitor your status and the removal of the charging plug. You always want to make sure whenever you get to 80% charge to remove the plug from your vehicle.
So, and this is especially true for level 3 charging stations, as we see here, right?
That's right.
This is where it gets into the 20-80 rule. You want to keep your electric vehicle between 20% and 80% charge at all times.
That's right, Zach. And whenever you get above 80%, it can actually take a lot longer to charge your vehicle.
That's right. So again, it goes back to being a good steward of the charging station and not inconveniencing other drivers out there. So once you hit that 80%, go ahead and unplug. That gives you plenty to get to your next destination.
Next up, when you're done charging, you want to make sure that you neatly return the charging plug to the holster on the charging station.
That's right. And some charging stations may have a cable management system to help you out with this, but for those that don't, you're also going to want to make sure that the cables themselves are neatly coiled and not loosely laying in the parking lot.
Exactly. And then you also want to make sure that people aren't going to be tripping over them or anything like that.
That's right. Honestly, all of this comes down to just protecting the charging station and the hardware itself. Not only are in some areas these charging stations few and far between for electric vehicle drivers, but as a driver yourself, they're also very costly, and so you don't want to damage one and be stuck footing that bill.
Exactly. Next up, this may seem pretty self-explanatory, but make sure to keep your charging area clean, tidy, and cleaned up.
That's right. We don't ever want to pull up to a charging station and see trash, see litter. At the end of the day, someone is providing a service to EV drivers by having these charging stations available, and we want to keep them as clean and as tidy as possible.
That's right. Make sure to throw your trash away and keep everything clean. Next up, you always want to make sure that you don't use the same charger that someone else is using.
That's right. As long as there are others available, sometimes, as you see behind us, charging stations are going to have multiple charging cables, but when someone else is using it, if I start backing off of that, then we're getting into load balancing.
That's right. That's right.
And then this is a situation where they were previously maybe getting the full 150, 160 kilowatts. Now they're only getting half of that. So if another charging station is available, try to avoid using the same one as a fellow driver.
Lastly, but certainly not least, definitely never ever unplug a charger from someone else's vehicle.
That's right. Again, this may seem self-explanatory, like when we talked about preventing litter and trash in a charging station area. But at the end of the day, someone else's vehicle is someone else's property.
Right.
And we understand that it can be frustrating when somebody's maybe spending a little bit longer at a charging station than we would like, but it's never under any circumstances your job to remove that charger from their vehicle. Now that we've gone through basic charging station etiquette, here's a few other tips to consider if you're using public charging stations. Consider using apps like PlugShare. Not only is this a great way to identify and locate charging stations in your area, but it also provides the opportunity to leave a review, maybe leave a note if you encounter, unfortunately, a down charging station. This is a great way to pay it forward for the many other EV drivers on the road.
That's a great point, Zach. And also another good tip is adapters. Whenever you are driving a non-Tesla vehicle, you want to make sure that you have a Tesla adapter to put on the charger itself whenever you go to Tesla stations.
Yeah, that's a great way to ensure that whatever charging station I encounter, I can make sure that my vehicle can charge properly at that station.
That's right, and also vice versa too. If you're driving a Tesla, you want to make sure you have an adapter for a non-Tesla charging station.
That's right. And then just one other tip, do some research, locate maybe on the device itself if this charging network has its own app. Many charging station networks, including ACDI Energy Services, have their own app. And not only is this a great way for you to track and manage your usage and where you're at in a charging session, but also, locate other chargers in your area potentially.
Yeah, it should look like a QR code on there or something along those lines.
That's right. That's it for this episode. Thanks for joining along as we took you through the ins and outs of public EV charging etiquette. Thank you to Hayden for joining me today, and stay tuned for future episodes of Plugged In with ACDI Energy Services.